Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion, a podcast exploring Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorne. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
And I'm Jimmy Fowler, elder candidate at Redeemer Fellowship.
What's going on, man?
Nothing. What's going on with you?
Nothing. What's going on with you?
I'm getting ready to head on to Philly next month, and
are you going there like on a mission trip or something? What are you doing?
Yeah, they have an abundance of cheesesteak.
Yeah.
And I am going to go take care of that.
Okay, so they need some help getting rid of all of the cheesesteak that's washed up on the shore.
It's all over the city. It's mainly in food trucks.
Okay.
And I need to go and
how are these
help
people
them
supposed to use their food trucks if they're filled with those cheesesteaks?
That's why I'm going to go.
Okay.
The Lord has called me.
Okay.
He has gifted me.
All right. Do you need support, man? Because we'll get.
I need that, and
all right,
I believe after that, the Lord's calling me to Hawaii.
Okay.
There are some beaches that need a towel.
Okay.
Spread out.
Right.
And someone to suntan.
Just someone?
I feel like God's gifted me in this area.
Okay, you are good at laying out in the sun.
And yeah, I'm like a beached whale.
Jimmy,
soaking up. Wait, what are those things? Not whales. Seals. Aren't they seals? Don't seals
You're more
sunbathe?
like a manatee.
What?
Yeah. Google it. So, Jimmy is good at laying out because he just lays out there and that skin just soaks up the sun. He loves
enough.
It. All right.
Enough.
And you do
enough.
It without a shirt on.
Enough.
But you wear
enough.
Spandex.
Dang it, stop it.
You do. Nothing's up with me, man. I'm just I'm a little tired.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know. We were talking about it earlier. I think I'm not sleeping well at night, and I've had nightmares like that. No, I had a weird dream and then a nightmare.
Last night?
Yeah,
Tell me
night I
about
had
it.
a nightmare.
Tell us about it.
It's not coming.
No, tell us about it. Come on.
All right, so
was I in it? Because I've had dreams.
No, okay, so life is the same. Everything is as it is right now. Mm-hmm. But then, this tire shop.
Was it the one that you worked at as a kid?
It was. Yes, it was.
See,
very
this
much
is how
like
much
that.
I know you.
Okay,
Go.
so this tire shop offered me a job, and I would work there, and they would pay me $90,000 a year.
Yeah.
To be like not even like the manager, just like a guy working in a tire shop.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody was really mad that I was making $90,000 a year.
Yeah, yeah.
While being a pastor.
Oh.
At the same time.
So you're doing both.
I was doing both, and then my wife got on there as well because we got to make the money.
Oh yeah, she got on like where? What do you mean?
At the tire shop. She got a job.
She was working at the tire shop
after me.
You were working at the tire shop
right.
as a manager, so it was nepotism. You hired your
No,
wife.
I didn't hire her.
You had to. You were the manager.
I said I wasn't the manager.
Oh,
Pay attention to my dream.
No, what
I was just like a tire buster.
You said manager.
No, I said I wasn't the manager or anything.
Oh.
Go back and listen to it.
Keep going.
All right. So she gets on, but there's like this initiation. Mm-hmm. And when you get hired, you have to kind of wrestle, fight, but not too seriously. But you gotta fight this guy on a car lift.
So let's get this straight. Hold on, stop. Your dream was you and your wife got hired at the tire shop that you worked at as a kid.
Suburban Tire.
It pays $90,000 a year.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty good. Initiation is you have to wrestle a dude.
Gotta kind of fight him.
Do you not feel like there's a little Freudian
No.
issue? Like, I'm just throwing this out there. I mean, who dreams about wrestling other men?
I didn't do it though. I could never happen to me. So I look over there.
So wait, so you did not wrestle the guy,
and not in the dream.
You
Maybe
were
I did
unable to wrestle.
No. I think that guy probably knew that I was tough, because I've got experience fighting and all that. So, anyways, all I know is like there's a big crowd of people, and I'm like, what's going on? And I go and I look over, and there's a car lift that's rising up out of the crowd, and on it is my tiny wife and this big Ophi tire buster. And he starts like manhandling her and wrestling her and like throwing her around on this thing. She could fall off and hurt herself. So I'm getting kind of mad. And so they're fighting.
So wait, you're getting kind of mad.
I'm a little mad.
There's a guy wrestling your wife, manhandling your wife.
Yeah.
And you're the way you describe it is, I was perturbed.
I was kind of mad.
I was perturbed.
Well, there's two things. Number one, my wife is dangerous. My wife will take out a lot of dudes. She can fight. Number two, it was a dream, and you don't think right in your dreams. You're not thinking right. So she starts throwing like jabs, crosses, hooks.
Yeah.
Like she starts
uppercuts.
Yep, she's doing it all.
Dang.
But he's like a master. He's like a master. He's like a sensei. He's like an 8th degree black belt.
So hold on. He's an 8th degree black belt that works at a tire shop that is there for the initiation of fighting the new recruits on a tire.
That's the dream.
Oh my!
It was super stressful, dude. Super stressful.
All right. Did Jen win?
I don't remember. I think I woke up or something.
Oh.
But anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, so
Nobody cares. We talk about that whole thing.
That was so good.
All right.
It tells us a little bit about you.
No, the dreams don't tell.
No.
All right, listen.
It told us about you.
Do you remember what we read not too long ago when we did a podcast on holy thoughts?
Yeah.
All right. What did Homeboy say? Scudder. He said when you're going to bed, you want to fill your mind with godly things because it'll make your dreams more infrequent or more pleasant. And
this was neither. Like it wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't.
Well, I was definitely not thinking holy things when I went to bed. Obviously.
Okay. So what? Okay. Now let's get back to that then.
So the dreams doesn't tell you anything about yourself.
What did you listen to, and what did you watch before you went to bed?
That doesn't matter.
Yes, it does, and that's why that look on your face when I asked that question. You can't see the look on Joe's face when I asked that because I caught him. What were you listening to, or what were you watching?
Last night. Well, I could probably just bring it up.
Bring it up. I want it as long as it's appropriate.
All right. Well, no, I don't listen to anything inappropriate.
No, I know,
What's wrong with you?
but sometimes you will kind of.
No, I don't.
It's not inappropriate.
I'm not afraid to tell people what I listen to or what movies I watch.
Some things, you know.
All right, now, hang on. Stitcher. I use the Stitcher.
You use the Stitcher?
Okay, I was listening to the No Sleep podcast.
Okay, so wait a minute.
Which is a horror fiction podcast. Yeah. It's pretty good.
And you wonder why.
All right, can we talk about the thing?
Sleep. I'm just concerned about your like.
Don't get all legalistic on me.
I'm just saying, that's it. You know, you cannot be listening to these things before you go to bed. It's obviously not healthy for you. It's obviously not good for you. And it's obviously not useful in helping you sleep at night and have a good rest in the morning. You just need to stop it.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Phil. And I am not...
wish I was Dr. Phil.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
He is tall.
Bald? Ugly?
Never mind. I can't do it. I can't do it. You lost me at bald.
So what are we going to talk about, Jimmy?
Legalism. We are going to be talking about legalism.
Finally. Jeez.
Finally? What do you mean finally?
Whole long intro. How long was that?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. All I know is you told us a story that proves you need to stop listening to some of the things you listen to. Things I've been telling you these things. I've been saying you got to stop doing this.
I stop and listen to that stuff.
All right. Yeah. Well, you do what you want. So, Joe, when we talk about legalism, why don't we first talk about what it isn't?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Because, you know, a lot of people, I think we get legalism wrong. I think, in fact, we were called legalists.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, I think, go ahead.
We were called legalists around Christmas time because we were saying, hey, churches shouldn't cancel their worship services where the word is preached and the ordinances are administered. They shouldn't cancel that because a holiday also happens to happen on the same day. We should maintain that because God has commanded us to gather together on the Lord's day, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people called us, well, not a lot, a few people called us legalists.
Just a couple. Yeah. Sorry, I was just trying to think of how many because you said a lot, and I was like, I don't know if it was a lot.
No, it was a few.
We definitely got pushback, and we definitely got some people. I think that I felt, anyways, were maybe a little passive aggressive. Like they wouldn't just come out and just go at you. But
I think we actually got a lot of pushback. And
we got a lot of pushback,
calls
and some people were good about it. Yep. Some people were helpful, and then some people were just like, and I mean, I felt, how do you word it? Like you kind of learn over time, especially in the ministry, like to have a thick skin.
Right.
People are going to disagree with you, and that's okay. But what I don't appreciate personally is questioning my motives.
Right.
So, you know, questioning that I'm being arrogant or that I'm ignorant, you know, or that I'm just trying to.
Because Jimmy is never arrogant and he is never ignorant.
Thank you. I am the smartest person around. And I know everything. Sorry, I lost my thought. Thank you for.
So what were we talking about? You were just saying how.
No, I just don't appreciate that kind of stuff when people do that, and that's what. And then when they throw words at you like you are a legalist, it's like, all right.
And then do it in the form of, isn't that legalistic?
Isn't that legal? Yeah, you do it in such a passive, aggressive way of life.
Again, like some people might have fine motives, other people might not. So legalism. Let's just establish.
Let's talk about what it's not, because
legalism
I think that's
is not doing what God commands you to do, and expecting or calling other Christians to do what God has commanded us to do.
So give us an example of that, Joe, because I think that's important. Because in this day and age, we don't like being told what to do.
I don't like being told.
I don't know. You do not.
Hey, what? Come on.
You do not. How often have we had our conversations about that?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Hey, Joe, let's go ahead and take care of this. It'd be a good thing. We should probably go like that. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, I think they really want us to take care of this.
You got to make me think it's my idea.
And that's what I've started doing.
See?
The podcast, I had that idea.
I thought that was my idea.
I had that idea a year and a half ago. I just had to kind of like work you into it. Then finally, Joe calls and says, "Hey, man,
got this great idea.
got this great idea. I just need to know: are you moving anywhere? Are you leaving?
Yeah,
Remember that conversation?
Yeah, of course I do.
I love you.
Because I had 3 other people on the backup. I got it.
Wait, what?
What?
Who's in the backup?
Oh, geez, man. There's really heavy hitters.
Pat.
No, I'm thinking. Listen, the Pat was number 4.
No. All right,
Yeah.
Pat was number 4. Who was after me then?
Right after you.
Yeah.
And really, he would have been before you if he was local.
Oh, you talking about Steve McCoy?
Steve McCoy is number 1.
That doesn't make me happy because now Steve's
number
moving
2
back
was
here.
Jason Halopoulos.
You wait a second. You were going to have the Halopoulos on before me.
And then number 3 was Nick Batzig.
That one I get.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I get Steve. I get Nick.
See how why you got all messed up
All right.
here.
What
So
is
okay,
it not?
it's not obedience. You're the one that's derailing us. People hate that. All they want is just boring talk about stuff.
Well, then there's other podcasts that have a lot of boring stuff.
So here's the thing on legalism. It is not obedience to God's commands. It is not the encouragement or the call for God's people to obey God's commands. That is not what it is. Are you recording video right now?
Don't worry about it.
Oh my gosh.
Why are you just
All right,
stop
it's fine.
it?
It's fine.
Go.
So that's not what it is. It's not critique. It's
Yeah.
not criticism. It's not disagreement.
Yeah.
Legalism is not obedience or the expectation of obedience to God's revealed will. That's what it isn't.
Yeah.
But when we talk about what it is, there's a couple of different ways in which we can talk about it. There's a formal kind of legalism.
Yep.
And an informal kind of legalism.
So then, how would you when we're talking about formal legalism? Are you talking about the idea of like kind of justification by works, like as far as your salvation goes, your right standing before God goes?
Exactly. It is that my peace with God, my relationship with God, is built upon, and we'll be fair here. It's built upon God's grace, and it's built upon my works, my efforts. So I cannot be made right with God. I cannot experience peace with God unless my efforts are enough and complement or work with God's grace. So it's works-based salvation, and it's the dominant way in which legalism is talked about. Most people that are theologically familiar with these terms and have some biblical familiarity, they know that legalism means that God accepts me based on how I perform or how good I am.
Yeah.
And
how much I pray, how much I read, how many times I go to community group or discipleship group or show up on Sunday morning, or the tithe, or how much I serve.
Yeah, and it's not just a theological quirk. It's the kind of a thing that has really bad implications for us on the level of experience, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I would think in the way of if I feel like I'm not doing enough, then I start to feel that God does not love me anymore, or he does not love me as he used to, based upon how I have acted today.
Yeah.
I would also talk about even salvation later on down the line, how that the ultimate conclusion of that is if I don't act good enough, God will no longer love me enough to save me.
Yeah. Yeah, it impacts your assurance before God. It can lead to pride for those who are short-sighted and only see how good they think they are, lead to despair in those who see that their righteousness is still pretty cruddy. Mm-hmm. And it can lead to, or it can just maintain a faith that is not real at all, because you are really trusting in your works and not in Jesus. Yeah. So there's a lot of problems with this formal legalism that is out there, and it's in different religions, but it kind of finds its way into evangelical or Orthodox churches as well, but in an informal way.
So informal, like, what do you mean by that?
So formal legalism is I'm justified or saved by God through His goodness and mercy and my works.
Yeah.
Informal legalism is the Pharisaical practice of inventing laws and commands and traditions and expecting other people to keep them, binding the consciences of other people who are who may not even share your views, but you're pressing them on them. I mean, informal legalism is simply adding to the commands of God and expecting God's people to keep them as if they were the commands of God.
So just, extra biblical commandments like no alcohol.
Sure, we've talked about that before. So
no tobacco.
Yep, I think that would be one that would fall into that.
No movies.
Sure. Yeah.
No dancing.
No dancing.
No tattoos.
No tattoos.
No goatees.
Well, there shouldn't be a goatees.
Why? What's wrong with goatees?
Maybe in 1994, but
what?
not now.
No, goatees are still it's still a thing.
Not really.
Well, and that
You know
what
who
you're
has
thinking is
okay.
if you're thinking that way, then no party in the front or party in the
no
back.
mullets.
What now?
Of
Mullets?
course
That's
not.
what it's called. I forgot the name.
Mullets are terrible.
What's wrong with mullets?
Oh, they're so bad.
Eli's got a mullet.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, that kid's hair is disgusting.
Oh, you stop it. That boy ain't got no mullet. So yeah, I mean, you think about the expectations that the Pharisees were placing upon people. They really wanted to focus on this concept of moral purity, religious purity, so much that they were very careful in their public performances of religion, but their hearts were still unclean. They weren't trusting in God, and this finds its way, kind of weeds its way into Orthodox churches, otherwise Orthodox churches. For example, I know you gave like the no smoking, no drinking kind of a thing, but how does this show up in otherwise good churches? I mean, what does it look like?
I definitely think attendance is one of those things. And I mean, I think the Bible does talk about do not neglect gathering together. But I'm talking about like if people, are providentially hindered, there's still there's no grace in that. There's no like, hey, all right, you couldn't make it. I get it. When you're having attendance and you're keeping tabs for the sake of having attendance and keeping tabs to see who really loves Jesus enough to show up. That to me is an issue. Yeah,
and it's something that you mentioned earlier when we were just chatting about this. You had said that that there is this tendency for some people to focus on the law so much that the gospel is just not really a part of it. It's a kind of legalism. It's a soft legalism where they're not adding to the law. They don't think the law justifies them, but they're so dialed in on it that they've disconnected it from the gospel. And as Christians, that's absolutely necessary for us.
That's right.
And so, I think when people are using the commands of God to guilt and shame people into measuring up to some standard that they've arbitrarily set is definitely one of the ways it happens. You see it in maybe the way people dress. In certain churches that are otherwise, the gospel believing churches.
It could be like this unspoken thing, right? No one really says it, but you kind of know what that standard is. I mean, there was even for us, there was a church in Canada, and I have to go speak at all these churches. And there's one church that was definitely, they had some standard. But they wouldn't say it, where the ladies had to wear all the ladies had to wear dresses, all the guys had to wear suits. Ladies also had to have some sort of head covering. And so Michelle and I, Michelle goes in with jeans, no head covering, and I'm wearing jeans. And I mean, they had at the door some head coverings for people,
It's good. It's nice. It's very kind of them to provide that.
Well, they're like, hey, would you like this? And I'm like, no. How many people have wore that thing?
Yeah, I think the danger in formal legalism is pretty evident, right? You're not trusting in the grace of God. But what's the danger with informal legalism? What's the problem?
You don't believe that God's grace is enough.
Explain.
Well, because what you're saying is it's not just God's grace, but it's God's grace along with this action or along with this obedience of some kind that is going to merit God's favor. So in one case, like you said, it's trying to get God's grace. The other one is saying God's grace is just not enough.
Yeah, or you've got to maintain it by
That's
these
it.
things. Right,
Yep.
right. So if like let's just kind of talk about some other practical implications here. If we are allowing informal legalism, like the adding to God's laws and binding men's or women's consciences with these things, what are the consequences? I mean, like in the life of a person, it at the very least, it takes them away not only from the gospel as their hope, but it takes them away from the law of God as the godly rule for living. Because they're not even seeing the law anymore for what it is. They're looking at a secondary law that was invented by some dude for his own purposes. And we've seen people come from these kinds of churches into Redeemer where they are beaten down, they are hurt, their consciences have been so bound that they just need to drink some gospel water. They're really thirsty for it. And they get here and they're still kind of shell-shocked and freaked out. Like, why
aren't you beating me up?
Why
aren't you yelling at me?
And then they'll have these flashbacks. They'll see somebody passing the offering plate wearing jeans, and they're like, whoa, what's that guy doing there? Well, that's kind of weird.
So there's that sense, there's that jaded. So it's not just, but I also think then there's, so they don't see the law for how good it is because there's a secondary law. But I also think then coming out of that, I think for some people, they begin to reject the law and they swing the pendulum the other way.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they don't begin to see the law as good. They don't see it as necessary. They don't see it as loving. They don't see it as this boundary that is meant for our safety and our health.
Right. It shows us how we're supposed to live.
Yep.
It shows us that we don't live that way. It shows us that we need Jesus. And when you have Jesus, then the law is your friend. It's no longer your foe. It just...
What do you mean? What do you mean foe? What are you talking about? You're no longer your fofo?
It's no longer your fofo.
No longer your fofo?
That is my enemy. What are you pointing at me for? You're sending me a message?
What are you talking? What are you doing? Why are you ruining the magic of podcasting?
Let's see here.
I had a question. I thought maybe this would be a good moment to bring
By the way,
up.
Jimmy has never done this. He has never sent me a text during a podcast.
Because I didn't want to say it.
Why didn't you just say it? Third use of the law.
That's I wanted you to go ahead and lead it because you are such a renowned theologian and author and pastor that people are asking you to sign the books.
Okay.
I mean, I felt like this was a good
All right, let me just get to it then.
Oh, please, sir. Bestow upon us this wisdom.
Third use of the law. In the Reformed tradition, there are three uses of the law. One, it is a rule that, or it is, let me put it this way, it restrains wickedness through the threat of punishment. Let's put it that way. A secondary use of the law is that it is a tutor, a trainer. It leads us to Jesus by showing us our corruption and our sin. You do not keep the law. It's one of its uses. When you see the 10 commandments, you should recognize that's not me.
Yeah.
The third use of the law is that it remains a godly rule for living. It is still valid. It is still good. It is something that we should keep, not to keep our salvation, but to walk in the ways that delights the Lord and to reflect him and enjoy him in all that we do.
And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the third use of the law.
Yeah. So legalism is not saying that the third use of the law is important. Legalism is either believing that your obedience to that law is what earns you your place next to God or your place in heaven, or it is adding to those laws that God has given us man-made inventions or woman-made inventions, and expecting people to adhere to those. Both are dangerous for our souls because both lead us away from the gospel and from the law of God in its proper function. That's ultimately why it matters. And so the cure for legalism then, if this is what we're talking about, the cure for legalism then is what, Jimmy? Law keeping? Better, like just doing
do it
real good?
Do it more better.
Do it more better.
Do
okay,
it more
I like
better.
That. I like that.
The gospel. I mean,
right?
I mean that's a cure for legalism. That's a cure for pride. I mean, that's a cure for understanding that salvation is a gift of God by grace alone.
Right. If we were to say, well, what is legalism big picture that would summarize all of this, we might be able to say it is a misuse of the law of God and a use of the law of God apart from the gospel. The gospel is the cure for legalism because it is all forms of legalism at the very least have the potential to damn us. Right? They have the potential to either reveal what we are as unbelievers, but not in any helpful sense, or more likely, it can lead us to a place where we are trusting in something other than the mercy of God.
Absolutely.
So, if we're saying that the gospel is the cure, what do you mean by the gospel?
I mean, I'm talking about the salvation that is only found in the life, death, and resurrection of Christ, a righteousness that we could not, like this right standing that we could not obtain on our own. We are unable to on our own. That it's only through the perfect obedience of Christ, his righteousness given to us.
Right. And so why does that cure legalism? Why does that gospel?
Because when you understand that it's only by grace, then you live in this freedom of knowing it's not about my work. That doesn't say go do whatever the heck you want, because you've talked about that with the law, with the third use of the law. But it does give this freedom of knowing that salvation is a gift. It's God choosing and electing his people, and he will sustain. He will call them. He will sustain them, and ultimately, he will glorify them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's it. I'm thinking that it's the cure for legalism. You said because it frees us. So from what? From the condemnation of the law, the tyranny of the law.
That's it.
It saves us from the tyranny of artificial man-made religion.
Yes.
From the concepts of karma. It saves us from the heavy burden and yoke of law keeping because Jesus is our law keeper. So when we read in Ephesians chapter 1, we have this message of salvation that is all of grace, and it's the grace seen in the electing love of God. When you move over to Ephesians chapter 2, we have this beautiful depiction of God's grace coming into our lives, saving us, and we experience this by faith, not by our works, because of his mercy. Let me just read it. Maybe we can wrap up with this. And you were dead in the trespasses and sins in which you once formerly walked, following the course of this world, following the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that is now at work in the sons of disobedience, among whom we all once lived in the passions of our flesh, carrying out the desires of the body and the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, like the rest of mankind. But God, being rich in mercy, because of the great love with which he loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved, and raised us up with him and seated us with him in the heavenly places in Christ Jesus, so that in the coming ages he might be able to show the immeasurable riches of his grace in kindness toward us in Christ Jesus. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not as a result of works, so that no one may boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus, there's our salvation, for good works, which flow out of our salvation, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Legalism is put to death by the gospel when it is believed, when it is heralded. we get frustrated with legalists, and it's easy to make fun of legalism and to call people Pharisees and all of that. But really, we're dealing with something very serious here, something that robs joy and assurance and contentment.
It's a gospel issue.
Yeah, it is a gospel issue. So we've got to take this seriously. I think the best thing that we can do is to have such a clear understanding of the gospel and to understand it in all of its facets, that we can apply this grace to our hearts and our lives and our consciences, which will then equip us to do the same for others.
And as far as like those kind of resources, I know we joke about it, and I know I joke, but I do think, like, what do you think about? I'm trying to think, what resources do you think of? Like Note to Self. I mean, I know I'm not trying to make a joke. I know I make jokes about that.
Yeah, I think the books like for this that are really good. Oh man, I'm not prepared. I think honestly the easiest book, one of the sweetest books that I read was A Gospel Primer for Christians. That's a really good book by Milton Vincent. It's a very small book. It's a mix of prose and poetry. It's really good. But yeah, just gospel propositions grounded in Scripture. Really, really good. That would be the easiest place to start, I think. We'll have some others recommended in the show.
And I definitely think, Note to Self is one of those resources I think that would be useful for people that are, I guess, engaging in kind of not reaffirming, but falling back in love again with how the gospel applies to you in every situation. What?
All right. I don't like pimping my books.
I know that, but that's why. But I know I joke about it all the time. But this is actually the one time I'm like, that book works well here.
This is the one time.
The one time. I know you don't
Jimmy
like it.
thought my book would be worth mentioning. And I'm sorry. Booklet.
His booklet. I didn't even make fun of your book this time.
Big thanks to Justin Bond of J Bond Media. He is our engineer, our editor. Amazon. He makes us sound good, even when we're kind of boring, like today. You know what?
Amazon.
We sound good. So definitely, if you need
Publishers,
any work, audio, visual, or otherwise,
he has a second book.
Go to jbondmedia.com and check him out. If you would like to help us out here at the podcast, here's what you can do. You can head on over to Twitter and follow us at Doc and Devo, or Instagram at Doc and Devo.
The Life of the Church.
You can also go to Facebook /Doctrine and Devotion. You can be our friend there.
Those 3 books.
Lots of announcements going on. If you want to, you can go to our website and go to the Contact Us page and leave us any comments, any concerns, criticisms, whatever you want, and we will get back to you if we can.
They are worth your time.
We have fresh pod coming every Monday, every Thursday, so check it out.
Pre-order today.
We'll talk to you later.
Later.